The S24 Ultra has been out for almost 12 months now. Is this the phone of the year? How has it held up over the 12-month period? And should you be looking forward to the S25 Ultra, or should you stick with this? Let's look at our S24 Ultra 12-month review. Welcome back to SamMobile TV. You're here with Daniel. Today, we're going to take a look at the S24 Ultra. We've looked at it a lot this year, but I think what we should really be looking at is how it sort of goes after 12 months of usage. How a phone like this, with all its capabilities and all its power, has sort of remained relevant over the course of that year. It always happens with Samsung. They release their phone in January, and somehow, it stays relevant for the rest of the year. The S24 Ultra has been no exception in that, even if there's been some slight hiccups along the way. So taking a look back at a year with this phone, the first thing that sort of started and got us excited was the fact that Samsung changed from a curved design to a flat screen. Depending on who you are, of course, some people really liked the curved displays that Samsung were putting out, S22 Ultra and the slightly flatter S23 Ultra. But I think what the S24 Ultra gave us was what everyone was asking for: uniform bezels, really slim uniform bezels, and a flat display so the S Pen could have surface area to glide across. But it wasn't just about the flat part of the display, it was about something else that it offered. The display on the S24 Ultra had something Samsung had never had on a smartphone before: the anti-reflectivity coating. This thing was truly a game changer over the course of this year, especially as someone who lives in bright, sunny Australia. Going outdoors with this thing, that anti-reflective coating plus that 2600 nits of peak brightness meant that I was getting exceptional viewing angles no matter what sort of conditions I was in. You could literally be sort of anywhere, and you can even see it now, and I'm looking at that there. That is a full-on light that is being shone on me, and you can see that the phone is barely picking it up. If I bring in my Fold Special Edition to sort of show that same light with that same background, you can just see that difference literally in front of you. And to anyone who says that that coating disappears after a year, there's evidence that it doesn't. So that's been for me one of the biggest advantages of this display over the course of the 12 months. Yeah, the colors are great. Yeah, the HDR and dynamic range is excellent. And the profile has got updated with the vivid slider that got added in over time. But the fact is that you can take this in any sort of environment and you've got yourself incredible viewing angles no matter what you're looking at. If we go into the display settings, I'll show you what I was talking about when it comes to the vivid slider. You can see here the vividness slider that Samsung added in made the display more vivid or less vivid depending on your liking. The reason that got added in is because people, had complaints. There were other complaints about the display as well, about super low brightness, and on dark mode, you get some grain. I have not experienced it for myself. That doesn't mean it hasn't happened. I'm just saying I haven't experienced it. But for me, the positives of this display far outweigh any negatives that people could throw at it. It's smooth to operate. The 120 Hz adaptive refresh rate is great. This display with its ultrasonic fingerprint scanner that is incredibly fast and responsive is superb. The design overall is quite nice. Some might argue that it's a bit wide in the hand, and the reason why it's a bit wide in the hand is because Samsung did away with the curved displays. And because they did away with curved displays, they made the frame curved. So this is the titanium frame that is rounded, and that adds comfort. So I would prefer that over a flat display any day, because if this was a flat sort of side rail, and the sharp corners, this phone would be sharp and boxy. Whereas I think the subtle curves give it that little bit of comfort and aesthetic design that is needed. Looking ahead to the design of the S25 Ultra, it seems as if Samsung is going the other way, going back to their Note 5 heritage design, which is the rounded corners over here and then flat sides around, which is just another interpretation of having flat and round sort of meshed together. It's just the opposite of this. The next part of the S24 Ultra to look at is to do with the cameras on the back here. Whenever I'm not using this phone, like whether I've got the Special Edition or whether I've got the Fold 6 over here, I miss this 5x camera something chronic. The ultra wide and the main camera, I'm okay with not having a 200 megapixel main camera, and I'm okay with a smaller sensor in most situations because most of my photos are taken during the day. But the flexibility of this fixed 50 megapixel 5x camera, I've missed a lot, especially at sports games. Going to my son's football and using something else to take photos and not this has been really difficult. So I always get reminded whenever I'm not using it, how powerful having this 5x camera is in my pocket. Because realistically, this camera system, you've got ultra wide, you've got 1x covered, and anytime, anywhere between 1 to 3 times is covered by this 1x camera, and it's high resolution. The 3x camera probably needs an update, not gonna lie, but it's serviceable for what you would use it for, which is just mid-range zoom, and it does its job. The 5x camera, well, I think the processing probably needs to be improved at like 10 times and beyond. But anywhere between that 5 and 10, you're getting really crisp shots, and I've just loved using it. The other parts of these cameras is the modes that they offer. Samsung, with the 8 Gen 3 for Galaxy chip, which I'll talk about in a moment, has so much variety of camera offerings that you will never sort of look at your camera modes and think there's something missing. Single take, which is by far my favorite way to capture photos of my kids. You've got video modes like dual recording, which again gives you in 4K filming from 2 cameras at the same time. The camera modes on here are just ridiculous. You know, you can go in and you can see and you can pick a mode. You've got night mode, you've got portrait mode, which offers up to the 5x zoom lens, which is great. Even in things like photo mode, you can see all the options that you have as far as zoom goes. You go into video, you've got super steady up the top, which goes up to quad HD. You have auto zoom and auto framing, which is 4K 30, which auto framing is great if you've never used it before. What will happen is whenever you move, it sort of will move to follow you. And then you can even tap on a subject and it will work to sort of zoom in. Works best on a tripod, so probably not the best demonstration here, but you get my point. Portrait video mode, 4K 30 portrait video mode, like ridiculous. And then if the more tab, expert raw, pro mode, pro video, so many options in here that just give you that camera flexibility. And that's why I really love this offering. It might not be the best camera hardware in the market. It probably isn't. But the fact that you've got this complete set, plus the modes and the processing, makes it a winner for me. Then you've got performance. This thing running the 8 Gen 3 for Galaxy is a very, very good performance beast. Battery life, not so much. Even though it's a 5,000 mAh battery, it's starting to show its age in terms of capacity. There's a lot more sort of better lasting phones out there. Some of them even have less capacity. I'm looking forward to seeing what the 8 Elite does next year from Qualcomm, and whether or not Samsung adopts the 8 Elite for Galaxy moniker and what that will do for performance. But we're looking to get the same 5,000 mAh battery capacity. So hopefully that chip sort of gives us longer lasting lifespan. The rest of the performance is about software. One UI this year dove headfirst into AI with Galaxy AI. It's got its own dedicated menu in the settings, and I've found a lot of these features hella useful. Things like Notes Assist, being able to summarize notes and take what I've got and formatting them better as well. Things like Browsing Assist, going into websites, reading articles, but instead of having to read the whole article, using Galaxy AI to summarize it is so easy and convenient. Just means I don't have to read and sit there and read the whole thing. I can just do that. Then even the S Pen stuff, like being able to pop the pen out and use sketch to image, which was a new one that got added in later in the year. But the S Pen and the S24 Ultra takes full advantage of that. Being able to, I can't believe this is my default, drawing a house. Being able to go in here and draw something and hit generate. But that's the thing, right? It's not even about that element of creativity. There's some real practical uses to Galaxy AI and the sketch to image function. There you go, there's your houses. For example, if we're like doing something in the backyard and it's blank, there's a blank canvas and we want to try and picture something there. You can take a photo, and for this purpose, I'm just going to take a photo of my living room. And then I can go into the photo, into Galaxy AI, and go into sketch to image. And then what's great is I can draw something in here that I want to get a bit of a feel as to what it would look like. So if I want to draw like a pot plant and have some flowers sort of coming off, or even like a tree, and then I want to hit generate, that will basically look at what I've drawn and create a real life version of it in the photo. I think that just means that you can use it in practical situations as well as just creativity. So now I know what this desk would look like if there was a flower there, and I can save the copies that I want and then move on with my life. It even creates like shadows and really, really good. You might be wondering why there's no One UI 7 in the video. Reason for it is, one, it was shot just before the beta came out. And two, most people who have an S24 Ultra don't actually have the beta. So it's not fair to sort of judge and call out a phone with software features that aren't out yet for the majority, and also software features that aren't final. So it wouldn't be fair on the phone, wouldn't be fair on other people who are using it, because this phone should be reviewed based off what is currently available for the majority. So that's what I did. Obviously, when One UI 7 drops officially on the S24 series, we can revisit it in a little bit more detail once it's all final and the software's final. But as of now, we reviewed it with One UI 6.1, which is what it had throughout pretty much the entire year. So look, 12 months on, the S24 Ultra. The thing is, a lot of those features that I showed regarding Galaxy AI are elsewhere. They went back to the S23 Ultra. They went back to the S22 Ultra. So I think there's a fly here. Nope, didn't get it. So I think you don't necessarily need this phone to get those things, but you get that alongside all of the other things that you get. The sort of more flexible camera system, the camera modes, which didn't go back to the S23 Ultra, like dual recording, for example, 4K 30 dual recording didn't go back. So you've got extra things that this can do that other phones can't. And the S Pen, of course, rounds it all off. We do have videos about the S Pen already on the channel. You can go check them out. So let me know what you think about the S24 Ultra. Let me know what you're excited to see updated for the S25 Ultra. And if you have an S24 Ultra, are you going to be updating or upgrading to the S25 Ultra? Let us know in the comments. If you want an S24 Ultra, there's a link in the description if you grab one for yourself. Hit subscribe to SamMobile TV. This will be all the coverage that you want to be here for One UI 7, for the S25 series. That's the place you want to be. And our website, sammobile.com. See you guys next time. Thanks.